So Judy, obviously an incredible film, incredible biopic about an incredible woman. What was it about her story, and particularly this era of her life, that made you want to make this movie?
I think I'm drawn to the idea of a story that studies the end of an artist's career and life, I guess. I think there's a sort of special delight and poignancy, I suppose, in seeing sort of late career bloom. I feel like when you watch Roger Federer kind of playing tennis, you enjoy it even more knowing that it's sort of coming to an end. And so that moved me. I was drawn to the idea of her being in a strange country, trying to get home. Reminded me of The Wizard of Oz in a way, the sort of as a bookend parallel. I think it's sometimes difficult with a biopic to kind of give it structure and not to just say and then and then and then.
Right.
And these specific few months, which sort of began with a real hope for her about recovering and getting back to her family and doing something positive in her life, and then ended kind of in a tough way. That seemed an interesting story to tell. Did you always want to just focus on the talk of the town in London and not move on to her final performances in Copenhagen, or was it just a matter of the timing? Yeah, I think we, I guess, it is a British movie, and so maybe rooting it here. I mean, we did watch the Copenhagen performances and the backstage footage that Mickey Dean's made, and it was sort of relevant to us, but I think the unity of China doing it all in London was what we wanted, and the fact that there was, I guess we were in London, so could talk to people who'd been there and have a very sort of authentic sense of what had gone on, and particularly this relationship between her and Rosalind Wilder, the character Jessie Buckley plays, which is, I guess, one of sort of doubt to faith, and it felt like if we'd gone off to Copenhagen, it would have opened up all sorts of other problems.
Right. I feel like a lot of the movie rests obviously on the performances that Renee gives as Judy. And did you feel like your work with stage helped you kind of transition that for the camera?
Yeah, I mean, they're totally different things. Like that directing for stage is so different to cinema, even on stage. The way you light is different. The way you think about the angles is different. But I suppose the understanding of the shape of a performance, I guess, and the shape of a musical number is helpful. Those actually, that week we were filming all those performances was the toughest week of the shoot, so it didn't feel familiar to me, but I guess probably in my bones I had a route map, yeah.
Obviously, so much about who Judy Garland is remembered as is rooted in her performances, but one of the things that struck me, I think, out of the whole picture was the bit with the cake at the end. Yeah. And I just felt that moment really encapsulates for the audience all of the struggles that she's had when she's given this piece of cake. Did you feel that too? I mean, as a viewer, I was like, oh my God, this is the best part of the film. But for you as the director, did you also feel like this was a moment that you could use to articulate something that you'd only kind of seen in these flashbacks that Judy herself never spoke about, but you could kind of hint to the audience with?
Yeah, I mean, cake is a theme through the piece, and so it culminating in her finally eating is poignant. I remember on the day we shot that scene, and the unit had been a bit like, well, we got the whole day for this cake scene, and I was like, no, it's really important. And we did the first rehearsal, and it was towards the end of the shoot, and all the characters were really bedded in by then. And I remember the producer turning to me and going, "This is so moving, this scene. It's great." And I said, "I know. It's I think it's really, really well written, beautifully written actually, but also." Renee and Jessie by that point were really close and had really got on, and I think you really feel that coming off the screen.
Yeah. There's almost like a mothering relationship there between Rosie and...
or like a disciple. Like for me, in a way, like Judy is like a secular saint in a way. She's sort of, and I think that like she's got this doubting Thomas figure in Jessie's character who then converts, which I think was true to what Rosalind Wilder felt about Judy Garland. And by that point, she's sort of fully enraptured by her.
What was it like kind of picking the songs that were used? Did you stick strictly with the songs she performed, or were there any that you wanted to include maybe because they spoke to Judy's kind of development?
Yeah, I think Renee really wanted to do some songs that we haven't got in the film. Like, they're on the album actually, but San Francisco she sings brilliantly. And then The Man That Got Away, I think, was the first one she learnt. And I was like, I don't know whether we've got space for that. We tried to always pick songs where the lyrics felt very pertinent to what was going on in the story. And so although some of them are very familiar, some of them are less well known. And we just always tried to make that map that she was somehow like a musical, I suppose, that she was sort of singing her thoughts as well as just the number.
When you focused on the kind of time period, you were saying that it's interesting to watch a person in the end of their career. But obviously at the time, nobody knew that she would end up dying so soon afterwards. So did you kind of approach it with that same naivete, or did you say, okay, no, we know what happened and we're going to make this movie with that in mind?
That's a good question. I think we knew, its structure sort of leading towards somewhere doomed was kind of, I guess, in our sensibility. But it's a good question. I mean, whether the audiences sit down, I guess some people will know that she died soon thereafter, and some people will not know anything about her story. And you can feel that in the final card when we say, that she died at 47, and often you get gasps or kind of, so people are shocked. Hopefully you can watch the film both ways. You can watch it as a sort of a passion kind of piece, or just as a story about her wonderful performances that has that coda in it.
In terms of kind of Renee Zellweger inhabiting the body of Judy, did you work with her in terms of her movement and her posture? Because I know for some of the costumes, she had to physically kind of change how she stood in order to fit into them. Was that something that was really important to you to get that character?
Yeah, I mean, I think Renee's physical work on the film is just incredible. I can take credit for a small part of it, but it's her body. She was really good at sort of studying it. I think she'd sort of put her iPad on with Judy on and sort of stare into the mirror and just mimic it. But particularly that curvature of the spine that Judy always had, but Louis B. Mayer used to call her her little hunchback, his little hunchback. And, I'd see her, at distance on a wide shot, even with her back to us, and I'd go, that's Judy. Right. There was that sort of like stoop that made Judy look a bit prematurely old, and I would put it this way: if it was a stage performance, Renee would not have been able to do that for like 6 months because it would have been tough. And Janny, the costume designer, did this great thing where she actually even stitched the zips so that they would kind of force her to stay in that posture.
Wow. Yeah. What do you kind of have in terms of what you want to do next now that you've tackled something kind of as iconic as Judy Garland? Where do you go from there?
You mean as a director?
Yeah.
Good question. I have to say I really enjoyed the music. Stuff. Not saying I do another musical necessarily, but I really enjoy shooting or integrating music more centrally. I guess that is what I do in my stage work, and I hadn't had a chance to do that before. But I guess I'm probably always going to be drawn by character and actors. The more you do, in theatre, you tend not to pick a project unless you know your actor and what you're building around. And so I guess that'll be true as well. Like, there are loads of wonderful actors I'd love to work with.
Can you name any? Or is that giving too much away?
All the ones in this film.
Tick.
No, hundreds. I saw the Joker the other day and thought, oh my God, Joaquin Phoenix is incredible.
Yeah, Adam
Driver,
Adam
Driver, I think is.
Adam Driver's great.
Adam Driver and Scarlett were brilliant in Marriage Story as well. So
I feel like just to speak about Joker for a second, it's similar in the sense that the physicality of the character tells you so much about what's going on internally for them.
Yeah, I saw a Judy poster next to a Joker poster on the tube the other day, and they are both sort of vulnerable outsiders. Jays, Judy, Joker. Sort of weirdly,
maybe that's where the parallels should stop, right?
No, but I feel they're both remarkable performances by incredibly committed actors. It's funny, although they're completely different movies, of course. I think there are parallels.
Yeah, absolutely.